Good evening. This is my case study, Get This Child Out of My Room, EDL 853, and I am Prentice Potts. So, a summary of what's going on. We are located in Schuyler Elementary School, which is in Fulton School District. We are one of 16 schools in about an 800-mile radius. The district, who not necessarily is short on funds, has just become very creative with their funds and their hierarchy as far as providing the additional services they need to schools. For example, the superintendent and the assistant superintendent tend to work in the schools and do their superintendent duties as well. So it's kind of like killing two birds, one stone. Some of the characters that are identified in this case study, are Carl Hughes, which is a student that we're going to address, Mr. and Mrs. Hughes, which is Carl's parents, Nancy Taylor, which is a general education teacher, Susan Green, who's the special education teacher, and Miss Lewis, who is the former or special education teacher, excuse me. So the issue we're dealing with is it's a troubled student in elementary school. He does have two siblings. He is going through some things at his home currently that could be affecting his behavior at school. The goal for our general ed and special education teacher is to create some type of plan of action that creates a successful learning environment for Carl. So that is our goal. So category 1, problem identification. What do we know? We know the location. It's in a rural area. We know that there's not a lot of resources that the district uses or the school can use. We know that Carl is a troubled kid and has had behavior in the past, but nothing to the severity of what he's having now in the last 3 months. Ms. Lewis, who was a former special education teacher, worked with Miss Taylor, who's a general education teacher, worked with her in the past as far as creating a behavior plan for Carl that was a consequence and a reward based on his behavior. Recently, Carl's been having outbursts in the classroom, and Miss Taylor is worried about the other children getting hurt. There's been no interaction as far as him trying to hurt those kids, and only thing that really has happened is he's been really aggressive towards Miss Taylor. He's also, maybe slammed books or hit his desk or done things of that sort. So continuing on with category 1, problem identification analysis still, what we need to know. We need more data. We also need to see Carl's behavior and what it prevents him or other children from learning. Exactly how serious are those behaviors. We need to have a complete understanding of that. We also need to know what measures have been taken to create a stronger environment for Carl in that classroom. What are some things that were done in the past by Miss Lewis, that could possibly prevent Carl from acting the way he's acting? And have there been any additional services like counseling offered to Carl or his family? So identifying the problem, Carl has a behavior problem that causes him to be extremely aggressive with his teacher, Miss Taylor. He is currently dealing with the divorce of his parents, which may be the reason of his recent outbursts. So we need to create a plan of action that provides Carl with the most effective learning environment without harming other students or Carl in that classroom. So category 2, the proposed plan of action with appropriate strategies for implementation. First, what we need to do is we need to collect some data about Carl. So how will we do that? Classroom observations weekly, one-on-one interviews with Carl, just kind of sitting down, asking Carl, his side of the story, what's going on, how does he feel, what are some things that may make him feel more comfortable or revert from having these outbursts that he's having. We also need to kind of administrate a functional behavior assessment, which will give us an idea of exactly, on scales of 1 to 10 and give us solid data of how Carl is feeling and how he responds. We need to speak with Miss Taylor about strategies she's using in her classroom to assist Carl. We also need to hold some type of meeting with the parents without Carl there to identify additional problems or possible suggestions that they may have that could help their son be more successful in school. Miss Taylor, in my opinion, needs to focus on developing a stronger relationship or bond with Carl. By doing this, I think that would alleviate a lot of the outbursts, because Miss Taylor would see those outbursts coming before they happen. Carl spends his time in that class, so if anyone can gauge or tell when one of his angry moments is going to occur, it would be Miss Taylor. So. Um, So going forward, still on continuing with category two. Second, after this assessment is completed, the behavioral functional assessment, the child's team, which would consist of the general ed teacher, special education teacher, principal, people of that sort, should meet to develop a positive behavioral intervention and support and other strategies to change his behavior. Ms. Taylor is a general education teacher, so she knows the behavior that needs to be addressed because she spends most of the time with Carl. Ms. Green also plays a huge role in developing a plan to support Carl, as well as the district coordinator, principal, and the parents. We also need to focus on Carl's strengths instead of just kind of focusing on his weaknesses, because he doesn't have a problem with the kids in his class, and we've yet to see any type of negligent behavior as far as Carl acting out towards his classmates. So maybe we can, figure out a buddy system instead of, taking him out, or because I know that was something that was suggested in the study, that we need to take him out of the room immediately when he acts like that. Well, we take him away from the peer interaction and socializing with other students, and it becomes worse than just the outburst. So that might not be the best idea. Still continuing with category two, the proposed plan of action. Third, we'll schedule an additional IEP meeting with the parents and the appropriate personnel in order to make the current adjustments to Carl Hughes' IEP. So one thing that would need to happen is additional minutes with the SPED teacher, meaning she needs to come in that room and be more active in there. So maybe co-teaching a little bit, assign a peer, mentor, or buddy to help with the behavior at certain times. Carl will also be offered additional counseling from a school counselor when needed by him. Like I said, he is going through a divorce. That's only something that should be given to him if he needs it, or if he talks about that or addresses it. And finally, after presenting the information to the parents during the IEP meeting, we must implement the plan into action. So everything that we've talked about needs to be done weekly. But one thing that we need to do is we need to follow up weekly with Carl, Ms. Taylor, and the parents, just to identify any changes and also to collect that data so we know in the future what worked and what didn't work. So category three, resolve the issues based on promoting the success of all students. How will the students benefit from the proposed solution? Well, first, everybody benefits, especially Carl. I think the big key in the plan of action is the relationship of building that with Miss Taylor and Miss Green. I think that is probably first thing on the list. If the relationship occurs and it's built and it's strong, then it takes away from the disruptions in the class, which then makes the classroom learning environment more effective and efficient, which is a huge benefit for Miss Taylor, because then she's able to get through her lessons on a day-to-day basis. Based on the information provided from the case, it's my belief that the student is not affecting the classroom in a negative manner, but he's seeking additional attention because of the current stress he's been faced with due to his home life. So I don't think it is severe enough where Carl needs to be taken out of class. Category 4, debriefing the problem and identifying future issues. What was I thinking? My concern at first was, why doesn't the teacher make more of an effort? I think the thing that stuck out to me was when I read, you have to get him out of here. Miss Lewis would have just removed him from the class. Well, that does the child an in-service, a disservice, as far as he's taken out of his learning environment. He's forced to go to a buddy room or a resource room where he's then isolated. So it's more like a punishment than anything else. The thing that we have to really, really focus on when dealing with a student with behavioral issues is, why is this kid acting out? Why is this child acting out? And let's get to the root of why versus let's remove him from the classroom setting or the situation, because then the child loses the learning. So always bring it back to why. What was I feeling? I was kind of sad about the whole thing, for the simple fact is when you think of a child going through what he's going through right now and not being able really to sympathize with him, because, I've never went through it. You don't know how that kid is going to react. You don't know how it's taking a toll on him. You don't know the outside sources as far as who's supporting him, who's not supporting him. All he knows is his parents were a unit, and now they're not. So he's trying to deal with the things the best way he can. What was I valuing? Really the efforts of the SPED teacher, the new SPED teacher, Miss Green, on trying to come up with a solution as fast as she could. I think a lot of times you put the cart before the horse, and that's when we make mistakes. So I salute her for her efforts to try to find a quick solution to resolve the issues. But at the same time, I think you have to take the time to make sure you have the right data before you make the wrong decision or rush decision. Excuse me. Potential issues that I see: Miss Green doesn't really follow. If she doesn't follow the plan of action, it's just going to be a snowball effect. Everything's going to continue happening. Miss Taylor is probably one of the most important pieces in this, because I think the relationship building, in my opinion, is going to alleviate a lot of the behavior issues that we see going on in Carl's life and in the classroom. So category 5, how did I promote success of every student? By creating a safe learning environment for all students, by managing the anger issue of Carl Hughes. The environment is created. So I think that's how I promote the success, not only in Carl, but the other students. When he has positive interactions, I think the class is able to function a lot better. How did I promote personal well-being? By influencing Miss Taylor to develop a caring relationship with Carl is a strong action that demonstrates the caring of a student's well-being. Any student that I've taken interest in and tried to develop a stronger relationship seems to be more successful in my class. So I think, in the same breath, I think that's what she needs to do, and by doing that, that's how I've promoted personal well-being. How did I enhance the instructional capacity? By collaborating the teachers, Miss Green and Miss Taylor, by them coming together and developing a plan of action that would benefit Carl is how that was done. I think allowing Mrs. Green to come in and co-teach in that room, or just help Miss Taylor in that room when Carl is there, is also another way that this was accomplished. So that's about it. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.